Black journalism in the United States begins with Freedom's Journal, the first black newspaper in the U.S. First published on March 16, 1827, the newspaper was founded in New York City by Samuel E. Cornish and John B. Russwurm, two free black men. The newspaper circulated for 2 years in 11 states with the goal of improving conditions for free black men and women in the North. Although it was short-lived, Freedom's Journal helped inspire the creation of 40 other black-owned newspapers by the start of the Civil War. Since then, black people have continued to make advancements in the journalism field. Some notable journalists include Ida B. Wells Barnett, a journalist and civil rights activist who covered the horrors of lynching in the American South. Harry McAlpin and Alice Allison Dunnigan, the first black White House correspondents. Malvin Malgood, first black TV reporter. Max Robinson and Carol Simpson, the first black news anchors of major news networks. Ethel L. Payne, the First Lady of the Black Press, and the 44 founders of the National Association of Black Journalists. The National Association of Black Journalists, commonly known as NABJ, was founded on December 12, 1975 in Washington, D.C. NABJ was created with the purpose of ensuring that the black community was properly represented in the news, as well as increasing the number of black staff members, both on and off screen in the newsroom.
I'm Faith Parent.
NABJ also wanted to and continues to encourage high school and college students working in other professions to become journalists. At Prairie View A&M University, the local NABJ chapter is filled with students who fit this purpose. They are striving to make a place for themselves in a field that often does not represent them in the best light. With this in mind, this documentary seeks to answer one question: what is it like to be a black student journalist seeking to enter the field?
I've always wrote. It was just something that I enjoyed doing. When I was introduced to Ida B. Wells, that kind of sparked it, especially with the current state of black relations to politics. I always knew I wanted to expose that.
So I'd say that as a kid, I love reading stories. I love reading books. Some would say too much. I think I love reading books from that standpoint, and I loved the stories. So I thought, if I like it so much, then why not just try to make something of my own? So just the whole aspect of storytelling, really. I think that's where it really got it started. So that's where it really all began.
Ida B. Wells, she's always and will be that chick to me. She was such a little woman, but it was a lot of people who tried to kill her for the truths that she unveiled, and I would aspire to be half as courageous as she.
Stephen A. Smith. He's a darn good professional journalist. He knows how to get the viewer involved, engaged. And one thing that maybe goes a little bit unnoticed sometimes is that he always is pointing out back to his HBCU, where he first, went to college, and he's always bringing out that celebrating his experience in black culture and all those things, and it's just positive. It's something that's quite refreshing in the world of sports entertainment.
Journalism can be journalism in so many different forms, and I don't have to box myself into one thing. Just looking in the field on the outside looking in, just watching how news networks and websites write about black people, I feel like they write about us in a subjective manner, and that's just very disappointing to me, because as someone who loves literature, who loves journalism, and I'm black and I can't separate my blackness from my skills. That's just something that I'm into, and to see that it's a field that doesn't necessarily represent me well is kind of a disappointment.
I'd say it comes from this semester. And I plan, sort of what I want to do each and every single year. My freshman year was supposed to be a learning experience, and sophomore year, it was just supposed to be building on what I learned and what I know. This early in the semester, that didn't really happen for me. And as a journalist who wants to go in the field of print, that's sort of like inhibited my skills, and that's sort of been both on me as a person not being proactive enough.
Being judged before you even get to the door. I think this is something that a lot of Black journalists face. Overcoming those disappointments, I feel, is the hardest part. Once a door has been shut, or once somebody has said something to you and it discourages you, actually coming back from that discouragement or getting up from that defeat as a Black journalist, I feel is hard.
Besides, obvious things like stereotypes, systemic racism, and obvious needs for diversity in the workplace, there's not really a whole lot to for Black journalists to really overcome. Black journalists, we are also, journalists. We have an experience that, that brings a little bit more to the table. Right now, they're learning more than ever that there's a need for Black voices. So I think this is really a sort of golden age for, journalists.
I think discrimination in the journalism field is very prevalent. I think people hide and say it's not, but it's very prevalent. And I've known people to just look at your portfolio and look at your name, and if your name sounds ethnic, or they don't even choose to look at your portfolio, or just if they have a certain look in mind, maybe they don't want to go with that look. But I think it's very prevalent, and I do think it's harmful to a lot of aspiring Black journalists.
And my perspective on this is that there is honestly, for me, I don't really see the discrimination in the terms of journalists in the workplace, and that's just my own personal opinion. But for other people out there, and maybe even more so as I gain more experience, because I grew up in a suburban area. I went to a mostly sort of mixed school, so I really didn't have any idea of what discrimination looked like. So maybe if that question was asked to someone else, they would have a better answer. But as for me, I don't really know what that sort of looks like.
Know your worth, for one. Know that you are a writer, regardless of your skin color, or regardless of your nationality, or regardless of your gender. You're a writer first, and knowing that you can't, being Black is something that you just wake up with every day. It's something that you're gonna incorporate either way, and just knowing your worth and knowing that you are good and you will be great no matter what anybody else say about you, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your background. It's just all about your skill and your drive. My ultimate goal, it's kind of far-fetched when you think about it, but there was this boy in Georgia, but he was found rolled up in a gym mat. Nobody has ever found who did it, and I personally feel connected to it. I always wanted, even randomly, I'll search it up, Keldrick Johnson, and just read into different articles about it, and the murderer is still lost or whatever, and they're covering it up saying that it was an accident death, but his organs are gone before he had an autopsy. So that's just something that it's I want to know how he was killed.
I think my ultimate goal is just being able to tell the types of stories that people want to hear, and stories that people need to hear. Stories that are kind of like broccoli or Brussels sprouts. You don't want to eat them, but you need to hear about it. So just like stories that people should know about, and stories that can really help people in their lives and really improve their knowledge and understanding. So things of that nature. It's not really much of an ultimate goal, but I'd say it's one of my life goals.
I write a lot, and I do write about Black issues and our relations to the communities that we live in, because I am from Dallas, and just recently Botham Jean and Tatiana Jefferson was killed in Fort Worth, which is about an hour away from Dallas. So I write about police issues in the relationship between Blacks and police, and that's just something I write about. And I've been in the process of turning my print to a podcast where I can actually speak about these things verbally.
One of the things I'm doing to get closer to that goal is being more proactive. That includes me being more involved in my career by getting involved in some organizations on campus like PVMU TV, NABJ, and the school newspaper to boot. Just things like that would help me improve my skills as a journalist. I have a lot of things to improve on, and by putting myself in a position of success, then I hope to be able to readily achieve my goal.
You can use your platform to stand against something. You don't need to be, in the forefront or accept things just because you're trying to get your foot in the door.